So, we're going to be doing a debate with Red Pill God. I say debate, more of a discussion about his views on how he thinks that the LGBT rights movement has been co-opted by secret pedophile billionaires in order to, I don't know, I guess promote pedophilia or something using the LGBT community. So, I watched your video, and I responded to your response to my response. And I'm still not entirely clear why you think there's this link between pedophiles, particularly rich pedophiles, and the LGBTQ community. Could you expound upon that, please?
Because, first and foremost, I wanted it to be clear that sometimes I could be a little harsh. Just like that's just how I am. A lot of times I'm kind of straightforward, even though my thoughts, even if like I hurt people's feelings. So I want to make it clear that I will call you female, like her, she, all that. And
thank you.
If I'm, yeah, right. So and then when I misgendered you, that was at first like I thought, okay, male, but then once I realized my actual error, I just went with it because you called me an idiot, so I didn't bother editing my video. And
okay,
yeah. So for the record, I'm not. I mean, maybe people have their own definitions of homophobic or whatever kind of phobic, but I know how I feel, and I don't hate anyone. So I just want that to be known.
So
and sometimes I am.
You don't hate people, you just want to invalidate them by not respecting their identities and saying that gay marriage isn't marriage.
Well, all right, so I'm trying to break it down like this. If you're any kind of person, like whatever you identify as, and if we have any kind of beef or I don't like you, then I will say whatever you don't like to get on your skin because that's just how it is. But
do you not think that's fucked up? Like, imagine if I got mad at you and said something.
No, I'm saying like I'm saying like in your video you called me an idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you said some very stupid things. But like, I didn't use like a racial slur against you because that's wrong, and that's effectively what you're doing if you're saying, well, someone made me mad, so I'm gonna invalidate their identity. Like, you can call me an idiot if you think I'm an idiot, but like, that's a completely different thing than, like, misgendering someone or saying that their identity isn't what it is or calling someone a racial slur.
I mean, like, back even, like, in school, you'll be called, like, for example, for a guy, you might have your coach or anybody say, stop throwing like a girl. Like, I don't think, my personal opinion, I don't think calling someone a male or female, regardless of what they actually are, is an actual insult.
Then why do it? If it's not even an insult, then why do it? Why not just identify them as they identify?
I feel it. Me personally, I feel it just it's an insult, like idiot, or stupid. Like some people call me, stop being a little girl, stop being a wuss. I feel like it's something as simple as that. But I can see from your point of view, if you feel like that the whole world or like a majority of people, whatever the case, have been invalidating you. Then I could see in your point of view how it would be like if somebody been calling me stupid all my life and then you call me an idiot, I could see how that would be more, it will feel more extreme to that person. I can see what you're saying. You see what I'm saying?
But do you understand how misgendering someone who already has problems with gender identity issues is like on a different level than calling someone an idiot? That's different. It seems like you're agreeing with that. Okay, great. Just wanted to be on the same page.
Saying if like you don't know what I've been going through, well, my whole life people been calling me stupid, and then now I see idiot and I get triggered. Okay. You see what I'm saying? So I understand what you're saying.
Fair enough. So you also in the comments about 20 minutes ago called me Peter Griffin. I'd love to hear about that and how that's.
Oh, I was just being funny, man, because I just felt like.
I don't think anything's been funny in reference to Family Guy for about 20 years, but hey, good shot. Shoot your shot. Do what you gotta do.
I assumed that, like, those people was coming to attack me for making the video.
I mean, they're definitely giving your opinion. Sushi Mom was being very cordial and just sharing their difference of opinion
Right,
with
but
you.
it was another comment. I think YouTube hit it. Oh yeah, that's another thing I want to touch on. I don't know if this is a recent thing. I mean, I've been on YouTube for a minute, but I haven't like just been uploading. But I'm telling you, it's a fact. I checked my spam folder. I checked everything. Those comments were getting deleted by YouTube, removed. And when I tried to reply to some of them, my comment was even getting deleted. I'm not lying about that.
Okay, but you can go under your tab under comments. I've been on YouTube for almost 10 years now. On my main channel, I do pretty well. You can go just under your comments tab, and they are held for review, and you can look at those. They're not permanently deleted.
On my channel, it's not there, man. I'm telling you. So I YouTube it, and other people are having the same issue. It's not there. Even my comment on my own channel is getting deleted. So, but it was another guy who had said something. Who called me out my name. So, and I thought, hey, this person looks like Peter Griffin. So I thought it would be funny to say Peter Griffin. That's literally what it was.
2 out of 10. Anyway, so you believe that the LGBTQ community and the rights movement is being co-opted by a secret cabal of pedophile billionaires. Now, can you please provide evidence to that statement, or correct my statement if you have any addendums?
What I want to say about that is, first of all, I don't have, you know how YouTube works, right? So I don't have a problem with the actual movement at all. Like, I don't have a problem with.
Well, then why did you take a decent bit of your video and try and bitch about the definitions of marriage and how it now includes marriages between men and women and women? If you didn't have an issue with it, why would you take all that time to be like, look at these old definitions on Merriam-Webster and now they're different? I'm mad about it because that's.
I know, but I mean, I guess I could understand why you think I'm mad about it, but I was just stating what I thought was facts. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, it's a fact that the definition has expanded, but it seems like an odd thing to point out and disagree with if you don't disagree with the fact that gay people are allowed to be married now. Why would you bring it up?
I'm bringing it up to point out that it's not all as bad as what it is being. Like, it's not all as bad as what it is being made to believe. It's not saying that. What I'm saying is that, for one, things are changing, and the way I see things, it's not, the world hate everybody because they're different. Keep in mind, right? I'm black. I know what racism and I know what all of that stuff is, but I can't sit up here and deny things that are changing. I can't sit up here and deny that things are progressing. I can't deny that. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, yes, things are progressing, but I don't see why you brought it up in your video where you're trying to say that the gay rights movement is being co-opted by pedophiles. Why would it be relevant to that video in any way, shape, or form? What was the point you were trying to make by saying, look, the definition of gay marriage has changed. Now let me tell you about why the gay rights movement has been co-opted by pedophiles. Like, what do those two things have in common?
I mean, it really has nothing in common. Like, honestly, because I was on the gay stuff, like the having rights and stuff. I mean, I thought it was a helpful tidbit. The same way I brought up the simple fact. Well, I'm trying not to be anti-Semitic because I don't know. Some people have their own definition for it. Same reason why I brought up that, hey, these people are Jews. I mean, it really doesn't matter what race the people are. My only problem is that I feel like that, obviously some people have more power than others and their agenda. It don't.
Okay, but you understand that that's incredibly anti-Semitic to try and claim that there's a secret cabal of people of a certain race that's literally what the Nazis did. This is like JQ Nazi shit right here.
I mean, maybe not all of them are Jews. I don't know, but what I'm saying is, I just thought it was a tidbit that they were.
So you're begging the question then. You're like, I don't know, but there sure are a lot of these like Semitic individuals. That's awful.
No, the Rothschild. That's what I was saying. They definitely are Jews.
Okay, and it has nothing to do with it. They're also white. So what? Like what? Yeah. Who cares?
I think it's just information, man. I mean, you can take it how you want. You don't necessarily.
Well,
Like,
don't put information out. You're communicating on YouTube, and every word and statement that you make informs people on what your positions are, whether they're declaratory statements surmising your opinions, or they're just general statements. So if you go around and say things like, oh, these people are evil and pedophiles, which you have no evidence for, and also throw in a tidbit about their race, is it not ridiculous for you? Is it ridiculous for people to assume you aren't being anti-Semitic there? Because it's a completely irrelevant fact, right? Like, if I said to you, like, oh, look at all these pedophiles. They're all look at this pedophile. He's left-handed, by the way. A lot of pedophiles are left-handed. Wouldn't you be like, wow, this person doesn't like left-handed people? Like, it's a thing to put in. And by the way, it also seems like you're, like, trying to distance yourself from things that you said very confidently in your videos, but now that you're being confronted, like, now you're like, oh, I don't know. I was just bringing up the fact that they're Semitic.
Like what?
Like the fact that you're backpedaling on a lot of this stuff. You're like, oh, I was just saying it for no reason. Oh, I brought up the gay marriage thing for no reason.
No, because you know, like, I was just letting people know who are in control of the world, who are in control with. I was just letting their identities know for the people who didn't know.
Okay, but the Rothschilds aren't even like the richest people in the world. Jeff Bezos is.
As together as a family, as together as a family, they have more money than anybody. As a family together,
I'd imagine the Walton family at this point is up there too. Also, probably the Disney family. Also, again, Jeff Bezos and his family.
Right? No, I haven't. No, I'm telling you, like, these people, like, for example, Bill Gates was once the richest man on the planet
for a while.
Now it's Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
Now it's just. But I'm saying, like, as together as a family, their income together, and they own banks all around the globe. That's what I'm saying. Like, together as a family.
Why are you arbitrarily deciding that as a group you need to designate all these people together? Like, yeah, they're a family, but it's not like they're the mob and they're all sitting together over, spaghetti and going, oh, we gotta put a hit out on someone. You have no evidence of that. If you do, come forward with it, but you're just making claims without evidence.
I mean,
there are over 800. By the way, someone in the chat just said there are over 800 Rothschilds and 4 Waltons, and the Waltons are still richer. So, as individuals, they have less money than the richer families than them. The Waltons, who own Walmart and Sam's Club, are a richer family, and there are fewer of them. So,
and what I'm saying, man, look, what I'm saying is, that's just one group of people, man. Like, I'm not saying that, this is just research, right? We know that the government can be bought. We know that corporations, people who own corporations actually run the United States. I mean, you could say that I don't have any evidence for this, but this is just through simple Google search.
Okay, but like, I agree that rich people have disproportionate power in the United States, but I can back that up with evidence, and that's fine. But specifically, you weren't talking about all billionaires. You specifically brought up the Rothschilds. So
not all billionaires.
Not all billionaires? Which ones then?
No. Well, I don't know all of them, but I did mention the ones that I did know of, which were the Rothschilds.
Why the Rothschilds specifically?
Right. So I'm not going to say Kanye West because he's a billionaire. I'm not going to say Trump or Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates are all a part of it because I don't know that. That's why I didn't mention them. But the ones that I do know who aren't allowed to be known from my research, which is bad because they do have a enormous power in the United States. That's why I mentioned them. Now obviously there are more, but I want to know.
Okay, but what evidence do you have that the Rothschilds wield more power than people who are richer than them? And on what are you basing that claim?
I don't know if they wield more power than people who are richer than them, but what I do know is that they wield more power than an average Joe, and they do have dealings.
All millionaires and billionaires do. So why them specifically? Right. That's what I'm asking.
Because there's evidence that they own national banks, and there's evidence that they
A lot of
on
people
you,
own
and
national and international banks.
yes, and there are evidence that they have enormous dealings with political affairs, and this is with
Most
Google. I don't know.
billionaires do. Again, you're not saying anything that's specific to the Rothschilds. These are things that
Well,
every rich person of above a certain amount is going to donate to political campaigns, right? And I
well,
agree. I think billionaires are shit. I think they shouldn't exist. I think that they should be taxed so high at the upper echelons of their income that they'll no longer be billionaires. I agree. Welcome, comrade.
it's like the Illuminati, right? You have the Illuminati. You have the
Okay, let's be clear. The Illuminati doesn't exist. The Illuminati does not exist. Okay.
Right. But what I'm saying is, it's like, all right, let's just say basketball teams, right? If you could talk about all of the basketball teams, but you could talk about the most famous ones. You could say the Lakers. You could say, why you only point out Lakers? I mean, like, it's like, I can go on YouTube.
But you could point out reasons why the Lakers would be one you're bringing up. You could talk about famous players who've been on the team. I'm not a sports person, so I don't know. But, like, you're just saying the Rothschilds, and it seems like you have no other reason other than they happen to be a family that's Jewish. It seems like that's your reason.
That's not a reason. What I'm saying is, they're the most popular, right? So I didn't want
most popular. Wait, no. By what metric? Most popular. What does that mean?
Amongst the people who know, amongst the people in the conspiracy theory, quote unquote, world. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, maybe don't take your positions on who's the most important from the conspiracy community, because they believe all sorts of crazy shit.
But look. What I'm saying is, when I made my first video, I put their image up. I didn't even say their name, right? Because they're so popular that I assumed that if you knew, I assumed that you knew that it was these billionaires that I was talking about. It could be more billionaires, but I'm not gonna point out every billionaire. Like it's insane. Like you find out about the Rothschilds, and then you can go on from there and find out what other billionaires are involved in this.
You've provided no evidence that the Rothschilds in particular are involved in the LGBT community or pedophilia. You need to evidence those things still.
Okay, so I can Google it. I don't know how I cannot.
Shouldn't you know this before you make the claim? Why do you have to Google it? If you already made the claim, you should already have a source or at least some reasoning as to why you're saying it. Otherwise, you've come to a conclusion first, and then you're looking for evidence to support your conclusion, when really it should go the opposite way. You should look for evidence and then make a conclusion from there.
Because that's literally where I've got my evidence from. But you asking me for sources, and I literally have to Google those things.
Go for it. Give it a Google, I guess, if that's how you want to go about it. Like, again, I don't understand why you're singling out the Rothschilds other than you heard other conspiracy people on, like, 4chan mention their name.
I'm just using them. I guess I could say it like this. I'm just using them as a figurehead. I'm not gonna call out all of them. It's like, if I want to talk about a billionaire pedophile, of course I'm gonna say, okay, Epstein, obviously, because he's the most popular. I'm not gonna say this person. Or if I want to say the presidents can be assholes, if I want to say that, I'm probably gonna say Trump, because he's literally. You see what I'm saying? I'm not gonna say. I can't. It's like I'm not gonna call out everybody, especially if I don't even know who's all involved. But I can name the ones that I do know and the ones I have the most information on. That's all I'm saying. But
you don't seem to have a lot of information on the Rothschilds. Are you claiming that the Rothschilds are involved on this supposed takeover of the LGBT rights movement? That's my question, so we can move forward.
My thing is this. I feel like I just feel like that they definitely have control of things. As far as how much do they have in control of the LGBTQ rights movement, I'm not sure. But what I do know is this: George Soros, I feel like he has more of influence on it because of his influence over Black Lives Matter. In some kind of way, Black Lives Matter is being meshed with LGBTQ rights, and it's just all of it is just like meshed together. And
Well,
And
that's how politics on the left works. If you have people who are struggling and you share common goals, like the rights of people in the LGBT community or the rights of black people to not be, like, accosted by the police, it makes sense to build allies of each other and help each other out. That's not a conspiracy. That's just successful reaching across the aisle politically and creating coalitions. That's been something in politics basically forever, is finding people with common goals and common beliefs and teaming up. That's basically what politics is finding people with common interests and working together to meet those interests.
right, but those interests aren't as innocent as they seem to be when
you need to based on what you need to source that. You need to, like,
right.
explain that claim. That's a claim.
Okay. I'm gonna give you an example, right? Black Lives Matter on their website, I think they changed it now, but they basically was saying that they advocate for to break down patriarchy. You know, they advocate for, you know, households that aren't male and female oriented, which is because they're conjoint of movement with the LGBTQ community. Now, with that being said, it doesn't
that would be more
patriarchy
is more like third wave feminism stuff. That's not necessarily LGBTQ community, which is more in stuff like fourth wave feminism. But, like, again, that's more a feminism thing than it is a LGBT specific, like,
right. So
discourse.
I want to get on this, right? So there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying, like, I know it kind of sounds like, I can agree with both sides on a lot of things. So just because I say, they're right about this or they're right about this, doesn't mean that I'm either liberal or conservative. It could mean that I'm somewhere in the center. So what I want to say is there's nothing wrong with, when I say in my video, you know, there's nothing wrong with two men. I want it to be clear, two men or two women or whatever the case, to be parents or to be in house. There's nothing wrong with those relationships. But what I do want to point out is that when you try to dismantle patriarchy, as far as when it comes to family and household, that's when the statistics show that, you know, the young boys, the young girls, they're more likely to end up in trouble. You know, obviously.
Wait. Can you explain to me what you think the definition of patriarchy is?
My definition, what I think the definition of patriarchy is just, you know, as far as, like, the household, is the household
in general. What's the patriarchy? When Black Lives Matter, if it said this on their page, if it did, I don't know if it did, says one of our goals is to dismantle the patriarchy. What do you think that means?
When they were saying dismantle patriarchy, they was talking about I could put an exact quote, but I mean,
I don't want to quote. I want what you think that means.
When it was saying dismantle patriarchy, they was talking about as far as family, that's what they were talking about, and I have to disagree with that.
So you basically understand that in terms of family, which I don't even know if that's specifically what they were even talking about, if it even was on their website. Dismantling the patriarchy would mean, instead of having a household in which the man is the end-all be-all king of the castle, you have a more egalitarian system where both the father and the mother, if it's a sort of traditional nuclear family, they would share responsibilities. And
well, the man's not an end-all be-all, but yes, king of the castle. But
that's a bad thing. That's a bad thing for wives.
I feel like it's more than an even exchange, because I do think that a man should put his life on the line when it comes to his family. So if anybody wanna
shouldn't a mother too? If you have a mother and a kid's like in danger and the mother can save the kid, wouldn't that also be a thing?
Right, but I think he should even protect her. I don't think she should give his life for her. I think he should, since he is the king of the castle, I feel that he needs to not only put his life on the line for his kids, but for her, and then she put her life on the line for the kids.
Why would she not also put her life on the line for the husband if they love each other?
Because the husband, he can, because if he has the privilege, right? And I'm not just this, oh, I'm just gonna be right. I understand both sides, so I'm somewhere in the center. I feel if he has this privilege to be king of the castle, then he should also be the protector. He should also be the provider. He should do more than them because he has more privilege.
Okay, so why not, instead of having this privilege dynamic where you think someone has a privilege, therefore they should put their life on the line, why don't we just have an egalitarian system in which both parents are equals with each other, they are partners, and they act like adults towards each other instead of pretending that the man has some sort of burden, like, oh, I'm the man, I must protect everyone, and my wife is a little child who must be protected by me. Doesn't that seem a little Victorian to you?
No, because just because he has those duties doesn't mean that she doesn't have duties as well.
And what are the wives' duties, in your opinion?
I feel like, all right, I mean, since it's this discussion, I guess we can be on the topic. I feel like the woman, right? She's a caregiver. She's a caretaker for the children because in nature, you know, typically a person biologically female, they're naturally able to take to it. Not saying that a man can't either, but just saying they're typically naturally able to take to it because look, she can give milk, you know, she gives birth.
This is a fun fact, I don't know if you know this, you could actually get a man to lactate. That's actually true. Did you know that?
Yes. I'm not, see, I know that, but yes, I know that. But what I'm saying is, like, you know, normally, you know, I don't even want to say normal because I know that could be offensive. I don't even want to be offensive right now. I'm genuinely trying.
No, I know you're trying, and I appreciate that.
So what I'm saying is this: she has duties too, and it's not easy being a woman. It's not easy being a man, but their duties are just as important. But that's when they have different duties that come together. Even the duties as a child. I mean, whoever, like, for example, if she has just so happen to have a gun and somebody breaks in, then there's nothing wrong with her protecting everybody. But it just depends on the circumstance.
But why do you think that, even if you think that men and women have different duties, I disagree. I think parents should parent equally. But let's say that's even the case. Why would, in that sort of space in which a man has certain duties and a woman has other duties, why would they not be still on an equal playing field? Why do you need this patriarchy in which the man is seated over the woman, even though they're supposed to be partners in this relationship?
Because everything needs a leader, man. I mean, not man, but that's just how I'm talking. But everything, you know, everyone needs a leader. You know, otherwise you can't have two people all constantly bumping heads.
Why do you assume that a partnership has to include bumping heads? If you're in a marriage, shouldn't you more or less get along with the person and share similar values? You might have differences occasionally, but that's normal in every relationship. You don't need one person being in charge. You just have a discussion like an adult.
Yes, but as a man, right? You know, it is ingrained through evolution.
Nope.
I know
nope.
People don't believe
that's sociological.
Right.
If you're going to claim that you believe that you have a right to be at the head of the family because of evolution, you're wrong. That's not an evolution thing. That's sociological, and that's the patriarchy. That's literally what's being talked about.
Not just because of evolution, though. You see what I'm saying? I don't think every man even has the ability to do so. But I'm saying, if things go how things were in nature, you know, if you look at primates, it's the same way. That's how our brains are wired. Men tend to, even in beginning stages, you start to see that adventurous, you start to see that leadership role tend to start in biological young boys. You start to see that happens naturally in nature.
Monkeys throw poop. Should we throw poop because it's natural?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I'm using monkeys as an example to show you.
I understand. It's a false example because you're saying that because nature sees these certain behaviors that we should emulate those behaviors. There are many behaviors that human beings might be inclined to do that we still say we shouldn't do because we're sapient, sentient beings who are self-aware and understand the feelings of others, and we don't work like that, you know?
I'm not saying that roles can't be interchangeable. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is that it does happen in nature, like naturally, like within humans. That's all I'm saying.
But so chimps, according to chat, chimps are patriarchal, like you're claiming, but bonobos, which are our other closest relative, are matriarchal. So why do you think one takes place over the other?
I don't know why they're like that, but what I'm saying is it is a genetic thing. That's all I'm trying to say.
You have no evidence of that.
I mean, it can be Google, man. I mean...
Okay, but you can't make a claim and then say, well, go look it up. You should decide what you believe based on the evidence first. You shouldn't make a conclusion and then search out evidence for that conclusion.
I didn't make the conclusion. I've literally... What I'm telling you is literally things that I've learned not only in school, but I've actually Googled. That's what I'm trying to say. That's why I say it could be Google, because I already did it. So with that being said, yes, roles can be interchangeable. I'm not saying that a man has to do this, a man has to do that. But to say dismantle it, they're not saying that okay, you know, that the man don't have to do all this work, or he don't have to. They're not saying that. They're literally saying that the agenda was literally stating to get rid of the man. Now the new agenda.
Do you have a source? Do you have a source on that claim that they're trying to get rid of the man?
Well, look, the new agenda, the new one that they changed because they've been getting so much flack for it. It doesn't even include man. It doesn't even include the man. They named the people. I mean, I have to Google it to show you exactly the quote. But obviously, I'm not encyclopedia. I don't know the quote directly off my head. But that's literally what it said. Now, I'm for everybody's rights. I don't care. Do what you want to. But I'm black. I don't want to be murdered, obviously. So, but my only problem is just with the organizations, the people who are over it. That's my only problem. Because these people are actually billionaires. The ones who run organizations, they're literally billionaires. And like
people who donate to some of these organizations might be billionaires because billionaires have a lot of foundations that donate to various charitable causes. But the people actually organizing like Black Lives Matter events or Pride events aren't billionaires.
Right. And I don't have a problem with the average person. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't have a problem with the average, like, if I say a white supremacy, I don't have a problem with Jim down the street. That's not who I have a problem with. I just have the problem with the people who's over the system. That's all I'm saying. I don't have a problem with the average person.
Okay, so what does this have to do? We've gotten way off track. So back to the original point of claiming that these billionaires are using organizations to push a pedophile agenda. In what way? What actions have been taken that you believe are pushing a pedophile agenda?
Because we're already starting to see it, you know? When we see these little... I know so many people going to disagree with me with this, but when we already see these little kids, you know, dressed in drag, we already see these kids start to have early transitions. We already see these...
Okay, hold on. First of all, I think kid drag shows are a little weird, but frankly, child beauty pageants also exist, and that's like a straight people thing. So if we're gonna trash talk child drag shows, can we please talk about child beauty pageants that are also weird?
It's disgusting. And right, I just started YouTube not too long ago, but before I was on YouTube, I always had a problem with that. That's freaking disgusting. And on top of that, but the funny thing is, it's not even funny. That actually led to where we at now. Because that was allowed to go on, that's why drag with kids are allowed now. I mean, people could say it didn't have anything to do with each other, but you gotta understand, that's how society works. Once you start to give them leeway, you know, they take a mile. That's what I'm saying. When you start to make one thing acceptable, which for example, I have no problem with, you know, I have no problem with gay people rights and stuff, but gay people should and LGBT people should get all the leeway for rights. But you can't just, as a society, at what we see going on, you can't just extend that to kids. You see what I'm saying? You can't extend drag as being acceptable to kids. It should be acceptable to adults who know what they're doing, but it shouldn't be extended to kids. How did exactly get extended to kids? I don't know. The first time.
All right, but I have a question. Like, if a kid wants to do drag, why not?
I feel like, well, I think that's very adult-like.
In what way?
Because these drags aren't, oh, hey, I want to wear a dress, or hey, I just want to dress like a kid my age. They're dressing like adults, like with makeup, with that mascara, eyeliner, all this stuff. That's usually, girls
Kids use makeup sometimes for fun. Little girls, cis girls, will use makeup.
Understand, but they wouldn't wear it to school. They wouldn't wear it out in public. It used to be like, okay, let's just
depends on the child.
Like some girls weren't allowed to wear makeup until they reach high school, or until they reach, you know what I mean?
Okay, but that's dependent on the parent, and I think even nowadays that's not very common where adults don't let their kids wear makeup to school. I think a lot of younger kids now, especially with the advent of like makeup YouTubers and stuff, tons of kids wear makeup. Right. It's fine.
Right, and I think that's a problem.
Why?
Because it's making kids look like adults. That's why when you see like
so if a little boy goes to school in a suit, do you have a problem with that?
No.
Why? That also they're dressing like an adult. And some women find like adult men in suits attractive. So why is it not the same thing?
Because you can still tell that's a kid, and you're not.
Okay, so you can still tell that a kid wearing makeup is a kid.
Not all the time.
When have you looked at an 8-year-old wearing makeup and thought they were an adult?
Not 8-year-old, but 13-year-old, 14-year-olds.
13-year-olds and 14-year-olds do not look like adults.
Sometimes.
What 14, 13-year-olds have you looked at who you think... First of all, I don't know how old you are, so maybe your view of what an adult is and my view are different. I don't know.
I'm 24. I just turned
24. You're 24? Okay. Older than I thought, actually. Cool.
Right.
I've never seen a 13 or 14-year-old who looks like an adult.
Or maybe it's just me. Some adults do look like kids. Maybe that's the case, but I mean, it happens.
Disagree.
Okay.
You also brought up people transitioning at younger ages. First of all, not typically. Mostly if someone is trans and they are prepubescent, if they decide to go on any medication, it's usually just puberty blockers, which basically it's not actually hormones of the opposite sex. It's just to stop them from going through puberty so that they don't develop secondary sexual characteristics. Like, I only started transitioning in the past 2 years. I'm 26. I still, in my opinion, am not where I want to be in my transition, obviously. But when I was a kid, I would have loved to go on puberty blockers. It would have made my life so much better. I probably would have avoided a lot of suicide attempts that I had in high school. So why do you think that kids taking something that will help them get to a place that they want to later is somehow bad and tied to pedophilia?
All right, I want to ask this question first. Do you know the percentage of people who actually consider themselves transgender?
I don't know, probably 0.5 or less %, if I had to guess.
Yeah, something like that, right? It's 0.3. See, but I'm not a person who just, I know everything. I just know everything off the bat. But what I can say is that I could generalize, like I could kind of general the percentage. And what I do know is it's 0.3. It could be different now, but yeah. So if we know that 0.3% of the population are actually transgender, there's actually more people who think at some point in time that they're transgender. So then 0.3%.
For one thing, we don't know that that's the case. It's entirely possible that as the acceptance of trans people expands in our society, that just like gay people in the past, more people will come out, and the overall out trans people statistic will go up. It could just be lower in adults because people who have been trans in the past had to hide it and stay in the closet their entire lives. Secondly, even if you think that you're trans and you're not, whatever that means, if you go on puberty blockers, as soon as you get off them, you start puberty. You're fine. The puberty blockers are just a pause so you can not hit puberty before you know for sure and before you get to an age where doctors decide that, yeah, you've decided you would like to go on hormones. It's not a permanent stop to your puberty. It's just a stop until a later time.
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
But the thing I wanna touch on is this. I mean, I feel, well, I know that still affects how you think. It still affects. It's just okay. Maybe you can get away with the hormonal blockers, whatever. Okay, because you can always. It's a bounce back from that, like you said. But based on what you said, that you can bounce back from that, you can still enter puberty. Oh, that's cool. I like that. But I know it's not acceptable everywhere. But see, I don't know exact states. I don't know I can't tell you, but I know there are some. I literally have to Google those to give you the exact ones. But some people in some states, like minors, are allowed to go through these transitions.
Okay.
And if the doctor there was a doctor, I can't remember exact everything, but there was a doctor who used to do transitions, and he used to see that a lot of people that were regret it afterwards. Do
you know? I have a statistic for you. Do you know? And this is just out of trans people. Do you know out of trans people how many regret their transition afterwards? This is an actual study that was done. If you had to guess, what percentage of trans people who transition do you think end up regretting and detransitioning?
I'm gonna say this, and it's maybe a vague response, but I've read, I remember reading up on it, and it said that before you even go through a transition, that you have to meet like a psychologist, and
yes,
to make sure that. And then after the fact, you have to still talk to your psychologist to, you know what I mean? So before and after the transition, you have to speak with someone about your mental health.
Correct. And I've done this. I have a therapist that I talked to about this, and not only that, I had to go and speak with doctors and sign mountains of paperwork before they would allow me to transition. And I'm an adult, bear in mind.
Right.
So for a kid, it's going to be even more. It's going to be more rigorous. Right. Now, again, I'm going to go back to my question because it seems like you just kind of sidestepped it. What percentage, via the studies that have been done, of trans people who transition, what percentage do you think regret it?
That's what I was leading to, right? So they, and based off what I read, they said that, like, it was normal for a lot of them. Like, a lot of people who trans...
A lot isn't a number. I'm asking for a percentage.
Right. I'm about to give you a percentage.
Without Googling it, I want you to guess to see where your head's at.
I'm trying to make a scientific guess. I'm trying to make a guess based off my past info. That's why I'm trying to give you my past info of the reason why I'm about to make this guess. So I forget the exact percentage because I've already read the percentage, but I forget what it was.
If you're Googling it right now, you can just tell me. I'd rather you I just want you to guess. Based on your preconceived notions. What do you think it is?
No, I'm not cheating. I'm not gonna Google it. What I'm saying is,
then just say a number. Say a number right now. Say a number that you think it is.
Can I just finish right quick?
Go for it.
I read it before, and I'm probably gonna be way off. But based off my preconceived notions and based off what I've read before, I'd say probably like 80% of them probably regret.
Wait. You think 80% of transitioning trans people regret it?
I haven't. Let me just explain myself right quick. I think.
For the record, hold on, real quick. The real statistic is 0.5%. Half a percentage point of people who transition say they later regret it.
Right. But I'm saying post. I'm saying as soon as it's done, I think it's probably like 80%. Like as soon as it happened, because they said that is normal. to have regret as soon as after. Now, after your psychology, after you talk to your therapist, probably after months after, I'm pretty sure there's way less regret. I'm pretty sure that the regrets leave. I'm not saying that the regret is permanent. What I'm saying is, as soon as you have any major thing happen, like a tattoo, I'm pretty sure a lot of people regret it, but then they come to like be comfortable with it. That's
the study doesn't show that though. It shows that it's 0.5. That's what it is. 0.5 is, by the way, less than regret from any other plastic surgery, which includes things like rhinoplasty, which is like a nose job. So fewer people regret their transition than people who regret getting a nose job.
I'm glad to hear that.
Okay.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, I'm not gonna stand up here and be like, "Oh, everybody regret." No, I'm not one of those people.
Well, you said you thought it was 80%, so. Right. Which would be a vast majority.
You told me not to Google it, and I just thought that maybe probably like 80%.
But do you not see the issue and how biased you are, and that you think that so many people regret it that you think it's a vast majority, when in fact it's a half a percentage point? Do you not see how off from reality you are in that assertion?
No. What I'm saying is, one
second, hold on. Sorry, I'm getting 1 sec. I'm sorry.
The regret was temporary. That's what I was saying. I wasn't saying that they actually regret it. Like now, I was saying it could be like a tattoo. Like, you know, if you ever got a tattoo, you just think about it. I'm not saying that it's like, oh, I hate being myself. That's not what I'm saying. So I believe your statistic because it sounds about right. That's what I'm saying. Because you go through therapy to deal with this.
That one was done in 2018.
Which one? What? I couldn't hear anything you were saying.
Okay, never mind. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Sorry, my girlfriend, who's a PhD candidate, was looking something up. Right. Oh God, I'm Ben Shapiroing.
No, like I believe your percentage. It's just that I believe what you're saying. So back to the kids things. That's why I felt. Well, it was freak. I can't remember, but the one of the first transgender people was like actually go through the procedure was a little boy. It was two twins. I gotta Google it, but I don't know if I should Google it.
The first person to get a successful sex change in the United States was Christine Jorgensen. She was an adult.
Right, but I know he was one of the first people. He was one of the first people, and it happened during a circumcision.
Wait. Oh, I remember this story. No. Listen, you're completely misrepresenting that story. That's not what happened. Basically, there were twins, and one of them had a botched circumcision, and this asshole scientist decided to give this child a surgery to make their genitals conform to what we would consider female genitalia. This child was not transgender. This child was not an adult who decided to do this, or this child was not even a almost preteen who decided this. That's not the same thing. No one is telling people to give sex reassignment surgeries to babies. We're talking about, people aren't getting this surgery when they're underage. Period. It doesn't happen. Secondly, what we are talking about is hormones, which is a completely different thing. And we're talking about giving it to sapient, sentient beings who, while they may be under 18, do know enough about themselves to know that they don't feel comfortable in their bodies. What you're talking about was one of the worst cases of medical malpractice in the history of the United States. That is not a typical case.
I linked to that.
Okay, so based off what you're saying, right? So you think that as far as the laws go, you probably don't know. I'm not going to assume that you know the laws in every state because I don't know the laws in every state. But you saying that you think that everything is right, everything is normal as far as the surgeries and as far as the laws go to allow minors to have surgery. You think it's okay?
I don't think minors are having bottom surgery unless they're like 16 at minimum, and even then they're only 2 years away from the age of majority.
They have to be at least 16.
They have to
have consent from their parents.
They have to be at least 16 and have consent of their parents.
As well as like long therapeutic history showing that they are trans.
And having a therapeutic history. So no one under 16 is having bottom surgery, or top surgery, I'd imagine, for that matter.
I definitely remember reading something about minors having bottom surgery, but I'm gonna take your word
You're
for it.
misremembering,
I'm
or
not-
you're thinking of the case of David Reimer, which was medical malpractice and was a specific case in which a psychologist was trying to test his crackpot theories and decided to basically give this baby surgery that was not okay. That was a one-off fucked up thing that happened. That's not something that's happening.
I mean, hold on. Well, okay, so you think it's okay, and I think even at that age, if at 16, I think maybe it's too early. Maybe I'm wrong for saying that, but that's just what I think. Just based off 18, people consider you as an adult. 21, your brain doesn't finish developing until 25, and especially when it comes to biologically male, you tend to not make the most rational decisions.
So I have a
And
question.
that's what
Do you
biological
think
female
by
do.
age 16, these people who've been uncomfortable their entire lives with their body and uncomfortable with being identified as the gender they were assigned at birth, you think at 18 that's going to completely switch, despite the fact that the first 16 years of their life, while being guided by a therapist, by the way, because they need to have a history with, like, a psychologist or something in order to even be considered for bottom surgery. You think this person hasn't been introspective enough to really know if they want to be a male or female moving forward?
I don't really think 16 is that far away from 18, to be honest with you. And when you said that, when you was talking about the suicidal rates, statistically proven. I mean, I'm not gonna say proven because I know some folks like to say statistics are skewed, but statistics show that the suicide rates doesn't change even after.
Nope, untrue. The suicide rates for people who are trans pre-transition and post-transition, the suicide rate goes down. The suicide rate is still higher than the general population, but that's because transgender people are mistreated in society.
So you saying that the statistics show that because transgender people have to go through so much that they actually commit suicide. So once they
Yes,
actually go through the transition, they become more comfortable with themselves.
they do, and their suicide rates go down. Their rates are still higher than the general population, but they're lower than pre-transition trans people.
And why do you think that they still commit suicide even after their transition?
Because society treats trans people like shit.
So based off what you're saying, because society treats someone like shit, that's why they commit suicide.
Correct.
So why is it that white males commit more suicide than black males?
Probably due to access to things like guns, if I had to guess. And also because, by the way, there are more white people in the country. Are you talking about in terms of rate or absolute numbers? Because if you're talking about in absolute numbers, there are more white people in this country than black people, so there's going to be more male white suicides.
Compared to population.
Okay, because there's more white people. They commit more suicide because there's more of them.
Compared to their population.
So you're talking about rate. Let's look at suicide rates by race. Let's take a look at the stats. Hold on, give me a sec. Suicide rates by race. Here's the CDC. Let me download this PDF. Oh, here we go. Figures. That's all ages. Non-Hispanic white. All ages. 8,000. Oh wait, we're talking about men. 29,000. Rate 28. Rate 11.4. That's a good question. I don't know why. Let's take a look. Let's see if we can find. Why do white people commit suicide at higher rates? Let's read this article together. I'll read it out loud. Why are middle-aged white men more likely to die by suicide? In 2017, men died by suicide 3.54 times more often than women. That has to do with the fact that men choose stuff like guns, and women tend to use pills. Guns are more successful, typically. Suicide is one of the leading causes of death among all American adults, and rates are increasing in both men and women, but numbers are also show a stark difference between genders. This is just an article about gender. I'm looking for race. Sorry. Why is the death rate for white middle-aged American... Here we go. While non-whites, younger people, and people in other countries are seeing falling death rates, a new study shows the reverse is happening for white men and women in the U.S. aged 45 to 54. Covering this period from 1999 to 2013, the study by Princeton University researchers say it is particularly acute for those without a college education. This change reversed decades of progress in mortality and was unique to the United States. No other rich country saw a similar turnout. The authors wrote of their study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. So what's believed to be behind it? The national data sets for the U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention used in the study show that middle-aged whites are committing suicide at an unrivaled rate. Suicide rates are reported to be higher in the southern and western regions of the U.S. than in the Midwest or the Northeast, where people around them tend to be more highly educated and employed. Increasing mortality rates really do show a growth disparity in health that reflects a growing disparity in wealth. Joshua Scharfstein, a professor of public health at Johns Hopkins University, told BBC, it's more a collection of anecdotes. But why are whites so much more likely to commit suicide than other demographic groups? Researchers say the answer is complicated and has a lot to do with culture. Is it striking that suicide rates are highest in white females and males? That is a complicated social and cultural phenomenon, Pat Remington, a professor of population math sciences at the University of Wisconsin, told the BBC. It has to do with a mix of risk factors. Mr. Remington also pointed to the widespread availability of guns and prescription drugs that enable suicide. This is not an urban African-American issue as much as it is a poor, rural, white male issue. Culture comes into play, a culture not necessarily of treating depression, said Mr. Remington. The rural culture, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Prescriptions for opioid drug for pain control in the U.S. have increased greatly since the 90s, when opioids became harder to obtain through regulations. Some people turned to heroin as the U.S. saw rising quality and falling prices for the illicit drug. Quote, there are no single reasons for this, but the typical cascade is an individual will obtain a narcotic through a prescription, transition to lower-cost drugs like heroin, then eventually have health problems, then have an early death, said Mr. Remington. The New York Times reports that 90% of people who tried heroin in the last decade were white. According to the newspaper report, drug addiction in black communities ultimately resulted in mass incarceration, while heroin and prescription drug abuse has been met with calls for a more sympathetic approach, possibly because its victims are largely white. That's true. That's a fucked up system that we have in this country. The increase in alcohol abuse can be connected to an underlying epidemic of pain, too, the researchers write. The U.S. is suffering a major epidemic of opioids and use disorders, said Mr. Scharfstein. It has obviously gotten to the point where it's affecting overall population health statistics. People realize that it's affecting many, many families, and all of that adds up. It's the reason why this is such a serious health crisis. In this study, researchers found increased numbers of declining self-reported health, mental health, and ability to work. Middle-aged whites reported problems with walking a quarter of a mile, climbing 10 steps, standing or sitting for 2 hours, shopping and socializing, some of which are risk factors for suicide. People may be working blue-collar jobs which keep them inactive, working odd hours, or doing hard physical labor which is taking a toll. Mr. Remington said that for much of the study's time period, people were uninsured. 45 to 54 is an age range where people can struggle. They may be midlife, they may not have the means, health insurance, or access to private care, said Mr. Remington. The pattern of mortality declines slowly and troublingly similar to what happened in the U.S. during the height of the AIDS epidemic, the researchers point out. Financial stress. Financial insecurity weighs heavily on U.S. workers, the researchers pointed out. This particular group, without university degrees, is struggling with economic insecurity and lack of sufficient retirement funds, contributing to anxiety and overall loss of well-being. Growth in earnings has been slow, the researchers note, and unlike Europe, where defined benefit pensions are common, U.S. pension plans carry stock market risk. Many have not contributed enough to their retirement plans. As the researchers pointed out, economic productivity slowdowns happen in many European countries, but they are not seeing the same drastically increasing mortality rates. With a culture in rural communities, when economic conditions worsen during recessions, we see almost like clockwork rates of suicide and self-destructive behaviors go up. So that would be why. Partially due to the opioid epidemic and also due to economic downturn, which I'd imagine people in like inner city communities are somewhat more used to, considering the long history of disparaging the black community in the United States, whereas rural whites, it's more of a new phenomenon. What's up?
Bill Starr linked a really good study about
Oh.
Because
Here's another study, the black-white suicide paradox, possible effects on misclassification. So basically, this study says that it could be just that black suicide rates are recorded less often and misclassified. That's also interesting. So there's a variety of factors.
Right. So could there not be a variety of factors for, transgender suicide other than society don't like them or something like that?
Well, I'm a trans person, and I'm telling you the reasons that I've wanted to commit suicide in the past are twofold. One, because of gender dysphoria, which is an awful thing and certainly contributes, but also the fact that knowing that even when I transition, people are not going to see me as, a woman, that's a huge factor as well. So
that's understandable. So just out of curiosity, you don't have to pull up any statistics for me. Just your personal experience. Which one affected you more? Your dysphoria or people not accepting you?
That's a good question. I think they're about even because one affects the other. The fact that people don't see you as you identify is part of dysphoria, right? They feed into each other.
Okay, so I know you kind of controversial too, so because your whole channel, you call out these people. I checked out some of your videos. I thought you was like, I didn't know your name was Hannah or Chud at first, but I thought you call people
fair.
You call people Chud. I don't know what that means, but
Chud is a term for sort of right-wing controversial figures. Let's say that, like Sargon of Akkad is a Chud. John Doyle is a Chud. I don't know if you know who any of these people are.
I don't know any of those people.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I'm not a person who could fit into a mold, obviously because I'm black, red pill, but I also have a lot of central views. So it's not like I'm just, I hate all these people, everything is this way. I'm open for understanding. But
so would you say you're just a centrist who just wants to grill?
I'm centralist. I'm kind of leaning, like centralist and kind of like conservative, like home good type values. But I'm not, I'm like live, let live, except for like, and kind of speak up for, defenseless kind of. I don't know. It just
see. You say you're standing up for the defenseless, but you again made a whole video about how you think the LGBTQ rights has been co-opted by pedophiles, which you still haven't evidenced, by the way. Also, this is just a thing. You talk about the red pill. Can I ask you a question? Do people like you who talk about the red pill from, like, The Matrix, do you know that that movie's about being trans? It was written and directed by 2 trans women.
People keep telling me that. I mean, it doesn't really make a difference to me. I mean, it's like, it's like if I found out a gay person makes my favorite brand of clothing, am I just gonna stop wearing that clothing? Or, okay, the person was trans. I mean, it doesn't make a difference to me.
Right, but the red pill is a metaphor for, like, cracking your egg, realizing you're trans. So when you say take the red pill, you're basically saying, like, I found out I'm trans, but you don't realize you're saying that?
I mean, it kind of changed over time. Kind of like gay used to mean a bundle of sticks. Now, it kind of changed. Like how you said your definition is marriage. I mean, red pill could be anything. Anything in life really could be red pill. It's just swallowing the hard truth that you probably don't want to accept, but you got to because it's whatever.
Hey, I'm all for death of the author. You can interpret The Matrix however you want, but just find it interesting that right-wing people have co-opted the term, seemingly without understanding it. Just interesting.
Yeah, and the thing is though, eh, I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable or anything, but I'm open to understanding, and and even though I can call you a woman all day, I could say she, her, I could say all the pronouns that you wish me to say. I know that it's disingenuous because deep down in my head, I'm not thinking that you
Hey,
know you're a woman.
it can be as
So
disingenuous as you want. Like, let me give you a metaphor, an example. And like, let's say there was someone racist down the street from you who wanted to call you a racial slur. Wouldn't you rather they keep that to themselves and just like shut up about it and like be cordial? I don't care if you hate trans people, even though you're gonna claim you don't. You certainly don't respect trans people. Even so, just like keep it to yourself. No one cares. No one wants to hear about it, right?
right.
Okay.
But also I'm not gonna also there's gonna still be pushback like when I said like in the science books and stuff like that, as far as like calling someone a monkey or an n-word, you know, there's no, it's like, okay, if someone saying, hey, did you know that you're a part monkey, before, you know, I'm gonna automatically be like, okay, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
But if this person can show me like scientific evidence that I'm a monkey, I'm like, damn. Well, that's a red pill I gotta swallow. You see what I'm saying? It's not. I'm not a person who's just gonna act from emotion. But if you got something like Meg Thee Stallion said that women were better than men, women are superior. I can't believe that. But she showed me some scientific evidence where women generally are better than men. Then I'm just gonna have to accept it. And I know if I ever have kids or if I ever decide to have kids, you know, I'm gonna teach them. I know that I'm gonna teach them to accept everybody as who they are, but at the same time, I'm not gonna teach them that transgender is the right way to go. So my question to you is like,
What do you mean by right way to go in that context?
Like in my other video, people might think, oh, that's hate, but really, I just don't see the logic in it. Maybe I'm wrong for this, but
so if you had a kid and your kid was like, you know what, Dad, I'm transgender and I want to transition, what would you say to them?
Based off my beliefs, based off what I know, as far as biologically, I'm gonna say that's wrong. So that's why.
Oh, so your kid'll hate you and never talk to you again once they get out of your house.
I mean,
because you've mistreated them. That's mistreating your kid.
I'm not gonna mistreat them. I'm just gonna say
if they say that they're trans and you say that that's wrong, that's mistreating them.
I mean, that's not mistreating. It's just gonna tell them that
that's mistreating them.
Okay, so that's what I want to get at, right? So you see that as a problem, correct?
Hold on 1 second. Someone's trying to talk to me.
Someone is trying to talk. I linked in chat a study that shows there are genetic variants in body incongruency in transgender individuals. It's biological. It's not...
Okay. So Baja Blast in the chat has just linked a study that shows that there are actual genetic incongruities for trans people that show that there is something genetically going on to possibly cause transgenderism, if you would like to take a look at it at some point.
Alright, okay, interesting. See, I'm not closed off to education. I mean, if someone say, hey, you're wrong, or hey, you know, I'm right and this is why, then okay. I mean, it doesn't matter to me either way. I'm just more of a truth seeker because that's what Red Pill's about.
Okay, but like, if I as a trans person say to you, you should validate trans people because not doing so is like a really mean thing to do to trans people, is that not the truth? Am I not someone who would know that?
Oh, no, I believe that. I believe that, you know, I mean, validating. I mean, it depends on what you mean by validating. It, like, validate as in, like, saying the proper pronouns, or validating or saying that I believe you. Because, you know... What
do you think there is to even believe? When I say I'm trans, and I say I'm a trans woman, what do you think that means?
I believe that you are trans, but...
Yeah.
Because that's literally what trans means, but I don't actually... But I can't honestly say that I believe in a process. And, you know, I
Why?
can honestly say that.
Why do you disagree with scientists and therapists and the American Medical Association and the American Psychological Association, all of whom have spent decades researching this, when you're just someone on the internet who just seems uncomfortable with trans people, so you're allowing your emotional
I'm not
state...
uncomfortable at all. Trust me. After I found out you were trans, if I was uncomfortable, man, like, I wouldn't even be right here talking to you.
I mean, people can be uncomfortable and still talk to someone. Like...
I mean, I'm talking to you like a normal person. Like, I'm not even, I'm not uncomfortable. I wouldn't even have put you in my YouTube video. That would have been weird if I was uncomfortable. I'm not. I mean,
you did, call me Peter Griffin and stuff, so it's not like you were being like, look at this wonderful person, you know?
I was being comical. Yeah, I was trying to be comical, but...
I know you were attempting to be.
Right. So, I wouldn't joke around with something that I felt was like, oh my god, that's so weird. I like, me personally, my personality is, if something made me so uncomfortable and I was just so afraid, like, so weird or something, I try my best to stay away from it. It's too easy to talk to you. Like, it's too easy to like make. I only like, because I do understand your position is the reason why I felt comfortable enough to even make a joke. You see what I'm saying?
I guess it just, again, I don't understand what you think you're disagreeing with when you say you disagree with people being transgender or you disagree with transition. What do you mean?
Clearly, I do disagree, but clearly I just said I disagree. Like,
in what way? What do you disagree with?
I thought I disagree. Like, this is what I want to understand from you, right? So I said I disagree with you. In my mind, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that I don't see you as a woman, and the reason why is because of biology. So
hold on, real quick. I have a 4th-year PhD student in biology, in developmental biology, right next to me, who disagrees with you. So why do you think that you know better than this person who spent years upon years? Candidate? Did I say student? I thought I said candidate. Who has spent years studying and is currently researching topics. Why do you think you know better than this person?
Because just as easy as you can find someone who, agree with what you're saying, I can easily find scientists who study the same thing, who they're still, what I'm saying is, maybe it's not...
The majority don't agree with you, though. The majority don't. It's why in things like genetic textbooks now, it says that there's a difference between sex and gender, because there is. Do you understand the difference between sex and gender? I'll ask that question.
That's what I want to get on, right? I understand that it's not a new concept, because I understand that but it's being introduced as something new to our society. So there's still scientists on both sides who can go all day back and forth with each other.
Not really. Can you find me like a good portion of scientists who disagree with being trans? Like, again, no one disagrees in academia. It's not a debate whether gender and sex are different things. They just are. Sex is like your sex, your biological sex, and gender is the sociological way in which your identity functions, often correlated, though not necessarily, to your sex.
Okay. So again, explain to me what gender is. Like, what makes you a woman? That's what I want to know.
That's a good question, because it's like a complicated philosophical question, and also a psychological question. On the one hand, I have what's called gender dysphoria. This is outlined in the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic Manual for Psychology. It's basically the manual for psychology, and gender dysphoria is basically being so uncomfortable with your assigned gender role, my assigned gender role being male, because I was born and assigned male at birth, which is what that means when trans people say that. And I'm uncomfortable with not only my body being masculine, but also my role in society as being masculine. So I come out as trans because of those things make me uncomfortable to the point that I want to change things. And then I begin my transition. So I've been on hormones for like a little over a year now. I'm wearing more women's clothes. I'm working on changing my name legally. All these things because it makes me feel more comfortable with who I am. It means it's more who I am than the things that society says I should be, because I have a penis, right?
Right. So you saying that? So basically, based off you're a woman. So can a person theoretically be gender be woman and sex be male, and they accept both?
What do you mean? Can you repeat that?
Can a person theoretically be a gender, right? Because you said there were two different things, which I up until now always seen it as being interchangeable. So can someone accept themselves as being male as far as biologically and not want to be changed and gender be woman?
I mean, you're basically describing someone who's a trans woman but doesn't want to transition. Yeah.
And actually like to have a penis and actually accept biology.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's not a matter of accepting or disagreeing with biology. Like, I want to have bottom surgery, for instance. I do plan on having a surgery, gender affirmation surgery, which will basically take my penis and invert it and turn it into a vagina. It's very interesting. Look it up sometime. Because that'll make me more comfortable. But it has nothing to do with me denying biology. I'm a trans woman, which means I know that my sex... I was born my sex being male, and I want to change that because it doesn't match my gender identity. That's what being trans is.
Right. So my question is to you: what is so your gender is basically gender roles? Like you kind of use gender roles as if it was your gender, like, but gender roles is something more so geared toward that changes over time based on what society says.
Right, you're right. It does. You're correct. It does change depending on the society in which we live. I'm uncomfortable with my gender expectation roles being born with the sex of male. Therefore, my gender identity more so matches what this society would consider female. So, I'm transitioning in order to align my perceived identity with my internal gender identity.
Okay, so basically you're saying that so my question is to you. Anyone who doesn't agree with the society's gender roles and they want to act more have feminine traits, then they're a woman?
Not necessarily, because you can not be trans and you can just be like very feminine. You could be a feminine man, but that's just not how my identity is. I don't feel like a man. I don't express myself like a man or behave like a man. That's not how I view myself. I'm a trans woman. Again, I'm not claiming to be a cis woman. I'm a trans woman, which is why the trans is in front of it, because it shows that I am going from my assigned gender at birth, which is male, because of my sex being male, and then saying, okay, my gender identity is not that, and I'm actually making a change and feel more comfortable being identified as a trans woman. I'm not denying biology. If I was denying biology, I'd just be some delusional person who's claiming, oh, I'm a cis woman. Like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm a trans woman. I have a lot of work to put in order to be seen by society, unfortunately, as a woman. Now, it shouldn't be that way. It'd be nice if society was like, hey, you're transitioning, and that's cool, and even though you're, like, still working on the best version of you, but, like, yeah, I'm going through a transition because it'll make me more comfortable.
All right, so my question to you is, do you see gender dysphoria as being some kind of illness?
It's not, technically a mental illness as defined by the DSM-5. It is a sort of mental stress, more or less, caused by an incongruity with your identity and societal expectations put on you.
Okay, so why do you think your identity is different from your biology?
That's a good question. Again, Baja Blast in the chat a while back linked a thing that said there are certain genetic factors that might cause that. For instance, there are intersex people who are born and have incongruities between what they might consider their... How do I put this? Some of their primary and secondary sex characteristics might be not the norm, right? And that's caused by genetics. So it's entirely possible, though we don't have enough evidence at this point to know for sure, that's something that I'm sure people are researching, that there's some sort of genetic thing that happens where some part of my brain develops in such a way that I view myself a different way than my body is. It's entirely possible that it's genetic. I don't know. It certainly has social factors, but...
Can I read this?
Hold on. Baja Blast wants to read something real quick. 1 second, and then you can...
Hi, I can't hear you, so I'm literally just saying this. But I do want to read something from a Dr. J. Graham Thiessen, who's an obstetrician and gynecologist at the National Institutes of Health. This is from a basically like a press release for a study that was done in 2019, I think, but the press release was in 2020. So 21 variants in 19 genes have been found in the estrogen signaling pathways of the brain, critical for establishing whether the brain is masculine or feminine. And that was found in individuals that are trans, but are not found in control groups. So people that do not identify as trans.
Okay, so basically what I'm understanding is that it's possible that you can have a female brain.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. So, see, this is new information to me. That's why I'm open to taking the red pill, whatever the truth may be. Wherever the truth lies, whether I like it or not, it doesn't matter. My other question is, so we understand that there's male and female, correct? But how many genders are there?
Well, that's a good question, considering gender is a social construct. Again, in our society, we have things that we consider female and things that we consider male. These are social constructs, right? The fact that we in society see women and think, oh, women wear dresses, women have long hair, women have long nails. These things are not necessarily biologically determined. These are things that our society sees as the norm, right? And the same goes, like, for gender in general. So theoretically, you could have, whatever genders that you, like, identify as, because it's just a social construct. So that's why you have, like, people who identify as men, people who identify as women, and then now you have, like, people who are open about identifying as non-binary because they don't feel that they fit into either category.
Right. So you're saying there's infinite genders?
I'm not saying it's infinite. It's theoretically whatever society or the people within it decide, because they are social constructs. Like, for instance, sports teams are social constructs, right? The Red Sox only exist because we as a society understand that it describes a certain team that plays in a certain city, right? There's theoretically infinite sports teams, but there aren't infinite sports teams because there are only so many that we recognize as a society, right? The same thing goes for genders.
Okay, so that's kind of hard to understand when, the brain, like you said, it's a possibility that you could have a female brain.
Perhaps.
But how many brains are there? Like, it's kind of hard to grasp because...
I understand it's a complicated subject, and I'm not even going to pretend I'm, like, an expert on it, because I'm not. But, like, when we're talking about, like, non-binary individuals, I'm not non-binary, so that's not an experience I can talk about, like, with, authority or with any sort of, like, personal experience. But from non-binary people that I've spoken with, they just don't feel comfortable being put in a box of either gender. And is that correlated to something in their brain? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think it really matters either way, though, whether it is or isn't, because that's sort of like biological essentialism, and I don't think that, like, defining people by their genes is good. That's, like, a couple steps away from eugenics. That's not, like, a great... And that's a slippery slope fallacy on my part, but, like... Just saying, it's not a great thing to do. Whether or not I have a female brain, whatever that might mean, doesn't take away from the fact that, as a human being, I feel more comfortable identifying as a woman, to the extent that, like, I've tried to kill myself in high school because of this, and that means that the way to alleviate that stress and that dysphoria is to transition, regardless of the reason.
So what if a person, instead of having a physical transition, because what they actually, like, you know, bottom surgery, where they actually had some kind of brain surgery where whatever that was disaligning their mental with their body, where instead of corrected, you know, bottom surgery, what if it could be corrected in your brain?
If that were a surgery that existed and someone wanted to have it, I think it would be their right. I wouldn't, because messing with someone's brain is effectively messing with who they are, and I wouldn't want to do that. But if that was a surgery that existed and someone wanted to do it, I don't really care. It's like, have you seen X-Men 3, the third X-Men movie, where they come up with a cure for being a mutant?
Right.
It's like that. Like, some people might be for it, but not everyone, because it's part of their identity, right?
Can I say something?
Hold on, Baja Blast wants to say something.
Okay, so again, I can't hear you, so if you respond to me, I won't be able to hear you. Hannah has the headphones in. But, so, doing a surgery where you're actually manipulating the genes in every single cell in the brain, of which there are billions, you would have to make sure that you changed every single gene that's affected in every single cell. And that's not something that's feasible. We can barely do that with one cell right now. We can barely change genes within one cell. At least reliably and safely. So, right now, the easiest and best way to deal with, you know, mitigating gender dysphoria for people is doing, like, whatever surgeries they want to make them feel more comfortable. And also, like Bellsthar said in the chat, who's also a scientist, you can't undo brain development. It's really hard to do. So basically, even if that surgery did exist, it would be really complicated and really expensive, and it might not even work, because if you don't get the majority of the cells, then you probably wouldn't be curing any of the dysphoria.
All right. So my question is, when do we stop? When do we you know, cross the line and just say, you know, you can't identify as this. We can't, like, do you think that people should be open to identify as whatever they want, as long as they feel like that they are that?
Depends on what you're talking about, and it depends upon the evidence as put forward by the psychological community, because I'm not a psychologist, right? So my authority is none in terms of this.
So when did we have any concrete evidence, right? Because based off of what you're saying, because the science books have been changed, when did we have any concrete evidence for people being transgender? When did we have any?
That's a good question. It's been collected over the decades, and that's why it ended up in the DSM-5 as gender dysphoria, because there have been decades of research on this topic. Probably since after the 60s, after it was ruled that, like, because prior to, I think, the 60s, being gay or trans or anything was defined as a straight up mental illness. So there wasn't, like, a ton of research into it, at least not, like, research that didn't treat the subjects like absolute garbage. So probably, 50, 60 years of research have gone into our current understanding of transgender people.
Okay, so you say that before now, then it was fair to not believe people when they said that they was the other gender different from their biology?
I mean, what do you mean by is it right or wrong? That's a whole, like, moral argument. I think it's good if someone is saying to you, but again, this is with the benefit of, decades of research and lived experience. I think it's completely reasonable if someone says, like, hey, I identify as a different gender. to believe them. Why wouldn't I? I understand that. Do I think that there would be a higher prevalence in the past of people being credulous about these things? Yeah, because they didn't have the understanding that we have today. That doesn't make it right.
Do you think it was fair for them to still think the way they do, though?
Can you define fair? What do you mean by fair?
Understandable, and not necessarily mean that they hate the person, they just don't believe in them. Do you think that...
I think they could have been wrong and believed that. Yeah, that doesn't make them right, though. I can understand why someone might believe or do something without thinking that their belief is correct, right? Like, I could ask you the same question about, like, racism. Like, I could talk about, you know, white Americans, not just today, but, like, in years past, in, like, the 1940s, and say, like, people were really, really racist back then. They still are, but they were even worse back in the day, and we had less information about how, you know, people's skin color doesn't really matter. People are people. Is it fair to say that, you know, that they were, like, misinformed? They were certainly misinformed, but it doesn't make it right. But asking if something is fair is a little nebulous.
What I mean is, like, I think as far as, like, racism, it's not quite equivalent because, you know, obviously some people was actually misinformed and thought certain things, but I think a lot of things were out of hate. But when you have something like...
I would argue the same thing happens with trans and gay people. Right, a lot of the misconceptions coming out about trans people are because of hate.
No, it's a little different, though. You gotta understand, right? Because when I was in school, in high school, and, you know, obviously I'm done with college science or whatever, but when I actually took those things, there was nothing saying that, you know what I mean? The books recently changed.
Right,
You see what I'm saying?
But there used to be, like, textbooks that said some really racist stuff, too. So would you say that someone who went to high school when they thought that there were, like, genetic differences between black people and white people that made white people smarter, do you think that justifies their racism? No, they were misinformed.
No, I don't think it justified the racism because racism is hate. But if someone believed that because of what they've been taught, then I understand. That's my position on it. I'm not saying that because to say that you hate someone is strong, and to call someone a whole homophobic.
But see, I'd argue a lot of racists in the past wouldn't say they hated black people either. They would just be like, and you see this today too, with people on the right who call themselves, like, quote, race realists. They're like, I don't hate black people. I just think that, like, white people are smarter or some other racist bullshit, you know? Like, people justify things that are hate all the time by saying, I don't hate this person. I just think there's a biological difference between us.
Someone thinking that they're biologically smarter don't mean that they necessarily hate me. They probably can go out, have drinks with me, and have a good time, and still just think that they're smarter. I don't think that they hate me. I just would think that they're misinformed. I think hate is more like, oh, I want to kill you, or I want to wipe you off the face of the earth, or because, like, black people really have experienced hate from being hung by trees and, you know,
I understand. I understand that, and that's awful, but also things were subtler than that, like the whole Jim Crow laws and separate but equal segregation stuff, like, oh, people saying, I don't hate black people, I just want them to have their own schools and their own water fountains and restaurant, you know what I mean? Like, again, people justify...
Like, me personally, blacks having their own stuff, that sounds good to me.
So you're in favor of segregation, then?
No, not necessarily, but I'm in favor of us having our own stuff, so that way we can help, give back to the community as a whole, like the same way that the Asians do, same way that other people have their own community. We can help give back. Like, if we able to cultivate our own things, then we can actually bring something to the table. Like, oh, hey, the blacks made this, or the blacks made that.
Hey, you know? I'm not saying you can't have, like, community supported and created businesses, but you can't have a business where, like, a white person or an Asian person walks in and you go, nope, we only serve black people. Like, you can't do that. That's segregation.
Yeah.
And that would be bad, because we live in a country full of all sorts of people of all different colors, creeds, nationalities, everything, and everyone deserves a right to go about their business without being discriminated against. Black, white, Asian, anything else.
So all right, so and I know homophobia get thrown around a lot, and I think that some people really are. I mean, I don't know. I know it's homophobic, transphobic, and a lot of other kind of phobic. I know there's a lot of people who really are genuinely homophobic, but then there's a lot of people who, by your definition, would just be ignorant, or in my definition, I say they would just disagree, but they don't hate anyone.
I would say that you can be homophobic or racist and be ignorant. It explains the thing, but it doesn't make you not racist or homophobic just because it comes from a place of ignorance.
I think that some people can be ignorant about something and not be racist or homophobic.
I mean, if their ignorance is leading them to racist or homophobic beliefs, then that's just the reason they got there. It doesn't negate what the belief is.
So, see, yeah, you're right, but I think our definitions of homophobia is different because, like I said, homophobic means that you are afraid of them. Or
okay, colloquially, we all understand that homophobia means that you, like, hate or dislike or are uncomfortable with gay people, right? Even though, yes, the literal definition is homophobia, being afraid of people who are homosexual, I understand that. Usually, colloquially, when we say homophobia, we understand what that means outside of the literal breakdown of the etymology of the word.
Okay, cool. So by your definition, hate, right? So what if you are...
Hate or discomfort was part of my definition. Hate, discomfort, the idea that one doesn't deserve equal rights, these things are all under the label of homophobia.
Right. So what if you... Alright, so this is what I want to get at, right? I could never date a trans person because in my head that, you know, that I would see that as being gay. If they're a male to female, I would see that as being gay.
So what about, wait, I have a question. What about the opposite? What if there was a trans man who was identified as a female at birth, but now they've transitioned to male? Is that straight because they have a vagina, even if they present entirely like a man?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean that. I mean, to me, that's literally the definition of straight. I mean, the person, the person. Now, mind you, the person who's attracted to male characteristics, they may be a little iffy. That person could be bisexual, or because, like, just because you're attracted to male characteristics, right? So that'll be iffy. But
okay, but so why is it not the same in the opposite? Like, if I present myself as entirely feminine. And let's say I'm further along in my transition, and let's say I pass real good, or like let's say someone like, have you heard of Blair White on YouTube? Maybe do a Google search for Blair White, Blaire White.
Okay.
And do an image search of her.
Right. Okay.
Okay, you see her, right?
Right.
Do you think she's attractive?
Well, to be fair, I'm kind of a picky person, so.
I mean, is that a no? I mean, you don't have to answer, I guess. I'm just curious. Like, do you think she's, even if you don't find her personally attractive, you can see that she's like a very feminine, beautiful person?
I mean, she looks kind of weird. You can tell she had a lot of surgery, but I could see someone thinking the way, yeah. I can see someone think that.
Now, Blair is a trans woman. She has a penis. So, do you think that someone finding Blair attractive, do you think that's gay?
No, I don't. But what I'm saying is, I'm saying being in a relationship, I think that would be a gay relationship.
Why?
Because the biology.
What about, are you fucking her chromosomes? Why do you think that this is about biology? What do you mean biology?
Because, for one, all right, I'm trying to be more respectful, but for one, you said that she has a penis, right?
I think so. I could be wrong, and frankly, it's none of our business. But like, let's say even she's had bottom surgery, or let's say, to make it less personal, let's say it's any passing trans woman, and they've had bottom surgery, and they, for all intents and purposes, look feminine, and no one would clock them. Is that gay if you were in a relationship with them?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's I don't want to say it, but it's not real. You see what I'm saying? It's not real. It's not a real.
In what way?
Like,
So if you have sex with a cis woman who has had plastic surgery, is that not real?
what you mean?
Like-
no. Plastic surgery where?
Anywhere on their body. Let's say they've had, I think there's like a surgery where you can change the shape of your labia. Let's say a woman who was assigned woman at birth, they are what you would consider a biological woman. They've had tons of surgery. They have fake breasts. They have had surgery on their bottom stuff just to like change appearance. They've had facial surgery of some sort. Is that having labiaplasty? That's what it's called. Do you think that's not having sex with a real woman if you have sex with her?
I think a lot of that woman is fake. Honestly, my biased opinion, I don't like women with plastic surgery, but if we just speaking in a general sense, then if she just had like minor adjustments or to her bottom, I feel like I think that her vagina is still a real functioning real vagina.
Well, you can, but see, trans women can get surgery to get a functional vagina.
But right, yes, you can, but it's not the same.
How?
Because, come on, you know how.
No, explain. What are you differentiating? If all you're worried about is being able to like stick your dick in and get off, what's the difference?
That's not the only thing.
What else?
The person, okay, you know how you said. Maybe I can get away with just saying this, or you might want me to explain more. But you know how you said that your biology could be male and your gender could be female, right?
Yep.
Or am I getting that wrong?
Yeah, I'm transgender. I'm a trans woman. That's what that is.
Right, but the person who's having a physical connection, right? A physical connection with two male parts, two male biological.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about someone who's had vaginoplasty. We're talking about someone who has a vagina. It's just been constructed medically.
Right. But that person is still male biologically, right?
In what way? Again, are you fucking their chromosomes? Are you like looking at under a microscope to try and look at their cells while you're having sex with them?
But the chromosomes make up who they are.
Not entirely. And again, are you fucking their chromosomes? Have you ever... I don't know how many sexual partners you've had, and I don't care to know, but, like, I doubt you've ever blood tested a single one of them to see what their chromosomes were.
I'm gonna say this. When you have those bottom surgery, and then you you do the things that you do to the penis, and then that person is literally just putting their thing into to someone else's biological penis.
Doesn't look like a penis anymore, let me tell you. If you've seen any pictures of someone with a vaginoplasty.
I've seen it. I'm not gonna.
Why if you look? I'm curious. There's a reason I've looked up like vaginoplasty because I'm interested in getting the surgery. Why do you know what a vagina who's had vaginoplasty looks like?
Because for one, when I was in college, we had a discussion and stuff, and I was curious about it. And before that, honestly, I wanted to hear what everybody else, I wanted to see what everybody was talking about. I wanted to have a better understanding, whether it has anything to do with my personal life or not. I like to have a general understanding. It became like a very popular thing that was all over the internet that everybody talked about, and I just felt like I needed to know. I needed to be updated on this information.
Hey, fair enough. Fair enough. I get that. Sure. Just curious. But, like, you understand and you've seen pictures, so you understand that physically, and again, this depends on the person and the surgeon and everything, but, like, there are vaginoplasties that look, like, perfect. They just look like, vaginas. I mean, that's the whole point.
Right. but it's not the same as I don't know how to say it, but it's not the same as a biological one.
In what way?
It's not the same. In a way that the biological one would actually have ovaries, actually have
there are cis women who don't have ovaries due to some sort of birth defect
Right.
or because of surgeries they've had.
right.
Are you saying that a woman who isn't able to procreate, are you saying that they're not a woman?
No,
So what's the difference?
biologically she is.
In what way?
In what way? What?
In what way is she a biological woman, but someone who's had vaginoplasty is not a woman in any way that matters during intercourse?
Okay. So that's what the debate is, or discussion is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think chromosomes does matter during intercourse. I think
In
chromosomes
what?
matter.
Why?
In what way does it
Again,
matter?
have you looked at the chromosomes of literally anyone you've been intimate with?
No.
So how do you know what they are? Apparently, it wasn't that important. You don't even know what they are.
I think that is important because you gotta go because
Then why don't you know if it's important? Surely it's something
First
you
of all,
would have
before-
checked.
first of all, I will only be intimate with someone. I'm old school. I'm not like everybody else. I will only be intimate with someone that I'm married to. First of all, and I'm not married, so.
Oh, okay.
and-
So you have never had intimate relations in the first place, which is fine. I respect that. Hey, if that's you, you can do whatever you want with your own body. That's awesome. When you get married, if you get married at some point, are you going to have your wife take a blood test in order to check her chromosomes?
I don't know if that is the exact thing that I'm planning on doing. Maybe I know I'm an anomaly. I'm different, but one thing I will do, I will make sure I will have we definitely have to get DNA tested because not because of the trans thing. I'm not worried about that because I'm pretty confident in that. But we need to know like DNA history and stuff like that because I don't want my kids to come out with any kind of be more prone to deformalities and things like that. I think that the history of a person biologically and just history in general, I think all of those things are important before you even marry someone.
Okay, so I have a hypothetical for you. Let's say you fall in love with a woman deeply and madly, and you're together for however long that you feel that it's, necessary to be married before, or be in a relationship before you're engaged. You love this woman, and you get engaged, and you do this blood test, and you both, to your surprise, find out that she actually has XY chromosomes. It turns out that she's intersex. She was born with some sort of genetic anomaly which causes her to present outwardly female even though she has XY chromosomes. Would that be a deal breaker if you were in love with this woman?
And she didn't know?
And she did not know. No one knew.
All right, so that thing is that's so rare. So the SY chromosomes, I'm not sure how it is. Is it just X and Y, or do she have extra chromosomes?
It's just she has an XY chromosome. This is possible. This is a real genetic condition that exists where you can have XY chromosomes, but something happens genetically to cause you to be outwardly presenting as female, as feminine.
Oh, she'll be biologically male.
I mean, her chromosomes are XY, but she still has, breasts, a vagina, like ovaries, everything. This is a real condition that you can have.
So she'll be leaning female. So she won't be 100% in the center. She'll actually be female biologically because she'll be leading.
Well, she has female secondary sexual characteristics, but her chromosomes are still XY. This is called Swires syndrome. It's a real thing.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So the person would really have all the things of a female.
Correct.
But
has XY chromosomes. Yeah.
Okay, so in very rare condition, I would say this the same way I wouldn't want to marry someone with Down syndrome? I would say no, because to me, that's not normal. That is not normal. I mean,
So you're going to tell this woman that you love her, but because her chromosomes happen to be of a certain variety that you don't like, even though you loved her prior to this, and everything, because a genetic test came up that said she has the wrong chromosome, you're going to break off this relationship and end the love of your life.
I think I'm kind of confused on that condition. Is that condition like so somebody like just take DNA from her, it'll show up biologically male? That's what
it would show up with an XY chromosome, but the way that the development happens, they develop as female physically.
So do she like have like 2 X chromosomes and a Y, or like, are you saying like she?
I'm pretty sure they just have XY chromosomes, but they.
Cause
this was on an episode. You ever watch the show House? You've seen House?
Yeah, I've seen it.
There's an episode of House with someone with Swires syndrome. They are born and they're physically female in every single way, but their chromosomes are XY.
I never heard of that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because I always thought it was just like, like an extra chromosome where it's like, okay.
Nope, things are more complicated than that, as it turns out.
Okay, so this is my first time actually Googling something during the whole talk, because I have no clue of this, so I can give you a better informed answer to your question. Type was president. 2 unknown females. Okay, so you're right. Like that's crazy. I've never. So yeah. To answer your question, like I said, I still have love for the person. Wait, are these people able to give birth?
Let me look. I'm actually not sure. Let's take a look, shall we? Can someone with Swires syndrome get pregnant? Nope, they're infertile. They can, however, become pregnant through the implantation of donated eggs. So if they get an egg donor, they can then implant that egg in their uterus and become pregnant and carry the pregnancy to term.
Did you know that some men don't, like, once they found out that their wife cannot give birth, they leave them?
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Me personally, I'm a person who, I'm all for love, but I feel as though I'm pretty sure I can love someone without being in a relationship with them. So yes, I couldn't be with her because I would still love her, but the things that I personally want in my life, that's what I'll be seeking for, and I won't be able to be happy in that relationship. It's only fair that I'd be forward with that info. Same way, if something was off about me that she didn't like, I wouldn't try to force her and hold her to be in my life.
What about adoption? You could adopt, or again, you could have someone donate an egg, and they could still carry the pregnancy.
I want to be able to share. No, I'm not gonna just pretend like that's the only problem, but I'm gonna get on my other issue, because I don't want to be fake. I want to be honest. One of the reasons is because I want my woman to be able to share a bond with me, which is the kid, which will share both of our DNA. I know you've probably heard of methods where people, gay couples get like swirl, and then like some kind of way that I think that they able to have a kid with both of their DNAs.
I don't think that's happened yet, but they're working on it. Yeah.
So I want to be able to share that experience with someone with both our DNA, someone who take off of both of us, someone who could live on the legacy from both of us genetically.
I mean, I guess it's just interesting to me that you have such this focus on like genes, and which, by the way, you never see genes. It's not something you see, so I don't understand why you know. And honestly, you should probably, on every first date you go on, make sure you mention this to people. Like, by the way, if you're infertile, over, because like I think it's only fair if you're gonna say you're gonna drop a relationship because of that. You should let someone know.
No. Wait. Right. That's very good. That's a very, very, very good point. But another thing is, yes, I'm focused on genes because I think that genes are very important. So other than not being able to give birth, the simple fact that if I find out that this person is XY, knowing that this person is biologically male, that would be.
But they're not. In what way are they biologically male? If they have a uterus, they have a vagina, they have breasts, all of which they grew themselves. They're not a man.
Right. And anonymically, they are female.
Anatomically, yes.
My bad. I mean, atomically, they are female. But you see what I'm saying? I think my thing is, I request of someone everything that I have. I would never ask someone to have something and I don't have it. So if I was a trans person, then I think it would be wrong for me to be like, no, I don't date trans person when I'm trans. Or I only ask for the bare minimum of the things that I have. So you see what I'm saying?
Not quite. Are you just saying that if you were infertile, you would disclose that to people?
Right. Why not?
I mean, okay, that's fine. I can respect that.
So if I was infertile, I can't be like, oh, she must be fertile. Why would I request that of someone if I can't even bring that to the table?
Okay. I just find it interesting that that's your bar. Have you ever had a fertility test? Just curious. It's not necessarily part of the discussion, but
no, I haven't.
Okay, just curious.
But I mean, that's not very. I'm pretty sure that's not a problem.
I mean, if you haven't had a test, you have no way of knowing. But because you can still
chances are, by me being a black male, it's not likely. But
wait, what? What does that mean?
It's just that, like, for example, black people, we have our own issues, like with sickle cell and stuff. But But as far as fertility goes, we typically, statistically, don't really have fertility problems.
I gotta look this up to see if that's true because I'm just genuinely so curious. Infertility rates by race. Which American racial group has the lowest fertility from Discover magazine? Let me see. There's a high birth rate amongst the African American community, but I don't see anything about fertility. Let's see. Top fertility rate by ethnicity. Here we go. Let's see. It goes. The average of all is 1729.5, and for the black community, it's 1792. So it is slightly higher, but not by much. Interesting. The highest is Native Hawaiians, by the way, in case you're curious. Hawaiians are the most fertile, like Native Hawaiians. Didn't know that. That doesn't mean you can't be infertile, though. The difference isn't that much by race, actually. I just looked at it.
Most definitely. But, it's like kids and so far into the future. I mean, I'm still young, and that's why I'm having this discussion with you, because I'm not like some old fart who just stuck in my ways. Obviously, I'm fully aware that 10 years from now, whatever, I could have a changed viewpoint. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where I stand on that.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Is there anything else we want to discuss, or is there anything you wanted to ask me? We've been going for quite a while, so we should probably wrap up soon, but...
Shoot, there's been times people try to have discussions and things get hostile. I'm glad that we still had the discussion, And just know that there's no beef coming from my side, and I do not hate LGBT people or anything like that. And I completely understand of where you're coming from. Is you saying that your brain could possibly be biological female, although there could still be studies on that. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying because I'm all about the biology part. I don't know about like the mental and psychology part. I have no real clue on that. But when you tell me that, biologically that your brain there's actually like physical evidence that says that, hey, I mean that's very interesting things. But I'm not gonna just go and just try to just try to make somebody feel bad for their dysphoria.
All right. Well, I would just say, if you're gonna do another video on,
You
claiming
said you want me to put up more. You probably saying that you want me to put up like more evidence of these pedophiles.
If you're gonna make an assertion, you should have evidence, especially if it's a bold claim, like pedophiles, taking over the LGBT rights movement, which you still haven't provided evidence for, by the way.
Oh yeah. By the way, that's what I want to get at. I was gonna say this earlier, but you know how YouTube works, where I said that it's kind of fucked up, I know, but when I said that LGBTQ rights are a gateway to pedophilia, you know how YouTube works. I had to phrase it the best way.
So you're clickbait. You're clickbaiting, basically.
Right. I had to phrase it the best way they would get clicks. But if I was to phrase it better, I would say that this is how I would phrase it. I would say that I probably would say something like the LGBTQ rights are being co-opted, or billionaires are co-opting. Like it's the same thing with Black Lives Matter, but obviously I'm gonna make a video on that. But obviously I would try my best to put links into the description below. But by me being a small channel, I don't really worry about linking people because people don't really click on the shit anyway. So, but I'll definitely do that next time.
Okay. Well, if I respond to videos in the future, I'll try and do, in the most respectable way I can, while still, disagreeing with you. It's fine for us to have disagreements about things. And hey, if you ever want to come on again and have a discussion, I'd love to have you. It's been quite an interesting and entertaining time, I would say.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I'm glad we had this discussion. I guess talk to you next time or whenever.
Yeah, and if you want to, like, rip this video off my YouTube or whatever and put it up on your own, because obviously you were part of this discussion too and you want to use it on your channel, feel free to, obviously, All
right, cool. And thanks for welcoming me to come on anytime, Maybe we'll have a more of a discussion because I see a lot of people who are misinformed. I do see a lot of people who I just think that everybody need viewpoints from all angles.
Sure. So, thanks. Yeah. I hope you have a good night.
All right, you too.
Yeah, later. The discourse. Is this discourse? I was waiting to see if he would do the bones. We didn't get any bones, unfortunately, but hey. Shamrockstar, thanks for the 200 bits. The discourse. Yes. What have we learned? Hell if I know. I really don't know. That was wild. Thanks, Random Invite, for the 100 bits. That was crazy. Yeah, I'll show you a picture of the kitty. I've been told to by Baha. Hold on. Oh, my boob is in this picture. Here, I'll zoom in. There she is. Very cute. You think he learned a lot? I hope so. Like, he's wrong on just about everything, but I genuinely think he's just, like, misinformed. But, he probably thinks I'm misinformed, so what are you gonna do? Xylus, thank you for following. Oh, Hype Train. Are we doing a Hype Train Cotton Candy 903 with 100 bits. This was an experience. Oh, Zessive Observer with 1,000 bits. You deserve more than I can manage for that. You did great work. Thank you. Thanks for the 1,000 bits. Wow. 88% of level 1. Thrash Mio says, I learned that Native Hawaiians have the highest fertility rate. That's true. We did learn that. So, I don't know. Do I do a post debate? Oh, MW1642 with 500 bits. Thanks so much. Do you guys have any questions about how that debate went or comments and want to talk about it? Like, I don't know. That's the first debate I've done on this channel. Debate. It was more a discussion. I was trying to see what this guy's view was because I find it interesting, even though I find it incredibly misinformed, you know? But, hey, you know, maybe we'll have him on at some point again and get to chat about these things. Who knows? Let me see if I can fix this window capture. Bellstar, thanks for gifting a sub. Appreciate that. Tom G, 1010011010 with 45 bits. This was a nice surprise. He legit seemed interested in some of the things that were new info to him. That's maybe promising. Maybe. If we can convert this red pillar, that'd be nice, you know? Maybe have him take that blue pill. That'd be great.